Welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanzeeba Noreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines. Biden says order must prevail amid campus protests on Gaza. At least 2,000 people arrested in pro-Palestinian protests on U.S. campuses. Biden calls U.S. ally Japan xenophobic along with China and Russia. Biden meets for hours with families of fallen law enforcement officers in Charlotte during NC trip. U.S. Federal Reserve keeps interest rates at 23-year high. U.S. accuses Russia of using chemical weapon in Ukraine. U.S. newspapers sue OpenAI Microsoft over AI chatbots. Heavy rain returns to desert UAE. ICC releases Out of This World anthem for T20 World Cup. Swiatek returns to Madrid Open final by beating Keys. Medvedev returns in quarter-final with injury. And Brittney Griner says she thought about killing herself during first few weeks in Russian jail. You are listening to Headlines Now News in detail. President Joe Biden broke his virtual silence Thursday on the nationwide Gaza campus protests, saying the United States was not authoritarian but insisting order must prevail. In a televised address from the White House, Biden added that there was no place for anti-Semitism on university campuses, which have been roiled by pro-Palestinian demonstrations amid Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza. The 81-year-old Democrat, whose re-election bid in November faces a challenge from voters opposed to the war, said there had to be a balance between the right to peaceful protest and the need to prevent violence. We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent, Biden said from the podium in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. But neither are we a lawless country, added Biden. We are a civil society and order must prevail. The U.S. president also said the protest could not be allowed to disrupt classes and graduations for thousands of students at campuses across the United States. Police have arrested more than 2,000 people during pro-Palestinian protests at college campuses across the United States in recent weeks, according to an Associated Press tally Thursday. Demonstrations and arrests have occurred in almost every corner of the nation, but in the last 24 hours, they have drawn the most attention at the University of California, Los Angeles, where chaotic scenes played out early Thursday when officers in riot gear surged against a crowd of demonstrators. Hundreds of protesters at UCLA defied orders to leave, some forming human chains as police fired flashbangs to break up the crowds. At least 200 people were arrested, said Sergeant Alejandro Rubio of the California Highway Patrol, citing data from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Rubio said they were being booked at the county jail's complex near downtown Los Angeles. UCLA police will determine what charges to bring. Later Thursday morning, workers removed the barricades and dismantled the protesters' fortified encampment. Bulldozers scooped up bags of trash and tents. Some buildings were covered in graffiti. Tent encampments of protesters calling on universities to stop doing business with Israel or companies they say support the war in Gaza have spread across campuses nationwide in a student movement unlike any other this century. President Joe Biden said Wednesday that U.S. ally Japan was struggling economically because of xenophobia, along with other countries, including China and Russia. Speaking at a campaign fundraiser in Washington that marked the start of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Biden said the U.S. economy was growing in part because we welcome immigrants. Think about it, he said. Why is China stalling so bad economically? Why is Japan having trouble? Why is Russia? Because they are xenophobic, he said. They don't want immigrants. Japan is a long-time U.S. ally in the Asia-Pacific, and Biden has been strengthening security ties with Tokyo to counter China in the region, having hosted Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for a summit and a state dinner in Washington last month. There was no immediate reaction Thursday from Japan, which is largely on holiday this week. We will be back after a short break. Till then, stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science-related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for OLED TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your feed. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. President Joe Biden detoured to Charlotte on Thursday to meet the families of law enforcement officers shot to death on the job just a week after he sat down with the grieving relatives of two cops killed in upstate New York. Biden was headed to a speech in Wilmington, North Carolina, and added on the visit to see the families as well as officers wounded in the shooting. The meeting took place with little fanfare behind closed doors, as the White House wanted Biden to be seen as respecting the privacy of grieving families and avoiding the appearance of using their grief for political purposes. The president took a short motorcade across the airport to the North Carolina Air National Guard base to meet the group, which included elected officials. The location was an alternative to traveling into the city and was chosen as the least taxing one for local law enforcement officers who are still reeling from the deaths but who would have a hand in securing the president's trip. Once again, Biden was seeking to be an empathetic leader for a community reeling from gun violence, while also calling for stricter rules around firearms and more money for law enforcement on the front lines. 4 officers were killed this week in North Carolina when a wanted man opened fire on a joint agency task force that had come to arrest him on a warrant for possession of a firearm as an ex-felon and fleeing to elude capture. The U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday held interest rates steady for a sixth straight meeting, keeping the level at a 23-year high to fight stubborn price increases. After a two-day gathering, the central bank decided unanimously to keep the benchmark lending rate unchanged at 5.25 to 5.50%, citing a lack of further progress towards its 2% inflation target. The economic outlook is uncertain and the committee remains highly attentive to inflation risks, the Fed said in a statement. For months, the U.S. Central Bank has held its benchmark lending rate at a high level to cool demand and rein in price increases, with a slowdown in inflation last year fueling optimism that the first cuts were on the horizon. But inflation has accelerated, throwing cold water on hopes of an early rate reduction. The Fed said it does not expect to lower rates until it has greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably towards its target. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell told a press conference it is likely that gaining such greater confidence will take longer than previously expected. The U.S. State Department accused Russia Wednesday of having used a chemical weapon against Ukrainian forces in violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention, while also announcing fresh sanctions against Moscow. In addition to the chemical agent chloropicrine, Russia also used riot control agents as a method of warfare in Ukraine, also in violation of the CWC, the department said in a fact sheet. The use of such chemicals is not an isolated incident and is probably driven by Russian forces' desire to dislodge Ukrainian forces from fortified positions and achieve tactical gains on the battlefield, the State Department said. Meanwhile, the U.S. Treasury Department announced sweeping sanctions aimed at crippling Russia's military and industrial capabilities, including targeting nearly 300 entities in Russia, China, and other countries accused of supporting President Vladimir Putin's invasion. The sanctions are meant to punish companies that help Moscow acquire weapons for its war in Ukraine. They also target Russian government entities and companies involved in the country's chemical and biological weapons programs. We will be back after a short break. Till then, stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science-related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for OLED TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your feed. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. 8 U.S. newspapers sued OpenAI and Microsoft in a New York federal court for violating their copyright to train the technology behind the ChatGPT and Copilot chatbots. The newspapers, which include the New York Daily News and the Chicago Tribune, are owned by Alton Global Capital, a Florida-based investment firm that created the second largest U.S. newspaper group behind USA Today owner Gannett when it bought the Tribune publishing chain in 2021. This lawsuit arises from defendants purloining millions of the publisher's copyrighted articles without permission and without payment to fuel the commercialization of their generative artificial intelligence products, including ChatGPT and Copilot, according to the filing. As this lawsuit will demonstrate, defendants must both obtain the publisher's consent to use their content and pay fair value for such use, the filing said. OpenAI and its Microsoft backer were also accused of offering up verbatim excerpts of full articles as well as attributing misleading or inaccurate reporting to the publications in certain requests. Other newspapers involved in the suit were the Orlando Sentinel, the Sun Sentinel of Florida, the San Jose Mercury News, the Denver Post, the Orange County Register, and the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Now it's time for global updates. Schools and many offices were closed across the United Arab Emirates on Thursday as heavy rains returned to the desert country just 2 weeks after record downpours that experts linked to climate change. A lightning storm with high winds swept across the oil-rich monarchy overnight, with more than 50 millimeters of rain falling before 8 a.m. in some areas, the National Center of Meteorology said. Flooding was seen in some parts of financial hub Dubai and the city's airport, the world's busiest by international passenger traffic, cancelled 13 flights and diverted 5, a spokesperson said. State-owned Dubai-based Emirates and sister airline Fly Dubai both warned passengers of delays as schools switched to remote learning and public sector offices closed. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 17,699.05. The NYSE Composite is increased by 122.66 points or 0.70%. Tokyo stock close price is 38,236.07. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 37.98 points or 0.10%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,104.82. The Shanghai index is decreased by 8.22 points or 0.26%. Hong Kong stock close price is 18,207.13. The Hang Seng index is increased by 444.10 points or 2.50%. Bombay stock close price is 74,611.11. The Sensex index is increased by 128.33 points or 0.17%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. With 30 days to go for the ICC 2020 World Cup 2024, ICC has released the official anthem for the tournament. Grammy Award-winning artist Sean Paul and soca superstar Keys collaborated on the anthem Out of This World, produced by Michael Tano Montano. The anthem was launched alongside its music video featuring appearances by some of the biggest names in sports, including 8-time Olympic gold medalist Usain Bolt, West Indies cricket icons Chris Gayle, Shivnarine Chanderpaul, and Stephanie Taylor, and US bowler Ali Khan, among other Caribbean personalities. The track and music video is available on digital streaming music platforms Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, JioSaavn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and others. We will be back after a short break. Till then, stay with us. This world continuously revolving around various events. Every minute, every second, something is happening somewhere around the globe, and you want to get connected to that event or to that specific moment. Here we come, Millennium News Hour, to get you connected with top USA and international trending news, which includes local news, political news, world news, business news, health and science-related news, entertainment news, sports news, and so on. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for OLED TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV, and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network, and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with Millennium News Hour to get the world news on your feast. Welcome back to Millennium News Hour. You are watching latest sports stories. Iga Swiatek cruised to a straight set win over Madison Keys to reach the Madrid Open final for the second consecutive year on Thursday. Top-ranked Swiatek beat 20th-ranked Keys 6-1, 6-3 in the semi-finals. It was a pretty clean performance and really solid game from myself, Swiatek said. I'm happy with everything. The Madrid Open is the only high-profile European clay court competition that Swiatek has yet to win. It will be the third final of the year for Swiatek after titles in Indian Wells and Doha. She will face either world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka or number 4 Elena Rybakina. I'm happy that we can play a final against the top players, Swiatek said. It shows consistency. For sure, it's going to be a challenge, whoever it's going to be, and a tough match. I will be ready. I will focus on myself. Sabalenka defeated Swiatek in the Madrid final last year. On the other hand, Medvedev retired after losing the first set 6-4, sending the 31st-ranked Lehechka into a semi-final against 35th-ranked Felix Auger-Aliassime. Medvedev, the number 4 in the world, needed treatment on his upper right leg while leading 3-2, complaining about having trouble moving to his right. He also needed treatment at 4-3, and after Lehechka broke serve in the 9th game to win the set, Medvedev decided not to continue. WNBA star Brittney Griner said she thought about killing herself during her first few weeks in a Russian jail after her 2022 arrest on drug-related charges. Griner spoke for the first time about her months-long detention in Russia during an hour-long interview that aired Wednesday night on ABC. Her memoir, Coming Home, is set to be released on May 7. Griner was detained after arriving at a Moscow airport after Russian authorities said a search of her luggage revealed vape cartridges allegedly containing oil derived from cannabis. I wanted to take my life more than once in the first weeks, Griner told interviewer Robin Roberts. I felt like living here so badly. She decided against it in part because she was afraid the Russian authorities wouldn't release her body to her family. Her plight unfolded at the same time Russia invaded Ukraine and further heightened tensions between Russia and the US, ending only after she was freed in exchange for Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout. Griner said before she was released, she was forced to write a letter to Russian President Vladimir Putin. They made me write this letter. It was in Russian, she said. I had to ask for forgiveness and thanks from their so-called great leader. I didn't want to do it, but at the same time, I wanted to come home. She was disappointed when she got on the plane for the trade and that Paul Whelan, another American who has been detained in Russia, wasn't with her. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. Before finishing today's news, let's hear out the headlines again. Biden says order must prevail amid campus protests on Gaza. At least 2,000 people arrested in pro-Palestinian protests on U.S. campuses. Biden calls U.S. ally Japan xenophobic along with China and Russia. Biden meets for hours with families of fallen law enforcement officers in Charlotte during NC trip. U.S. Federal Reserve keeps interest rates at 23-year high. US accuses Russia of using chemical weapon in Ukraine. US newspapers sue OpenAI Microsoft over AI chatbots. Heavy rain returns to desert UAE. ICC releases Out of This World anthem for T20 World Cup. Swiatek returns to Madrid Open final by beating Keys. Medvedev returns in quarter-final with injury. And Brittany Griner says she thought about killing herself during first few weeks in Russian jail. That's all for today. Keep watching Millennium News Hour for latest news update. To stay updated, like our Facebook page, subscribe our YouTube channel and visit our website. Our website address is www.millenniumnews24.com. Millennium News 24 is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all the latest news worldwide. Thank you.